What would you do if, after giving everything for your country, your loyalty, your courage, even risking your life, you were suddenly cast aside like you meant nothing? This is the story of James Harper, a highly skilled member of the Special Military Forces. For years, James served on the front lines, facing life-threatening missions with unshakable courage. Now, he is at home with his wife Brienne and their young son Max, recovering from a serious knee injury he suffered during a deployment in Afghanistan. James believed this was just a temporary pause, a small setback before he could return to duty and continue serving the nation he loved. But fate had other plans. One day, James receives a call from his military leader summoning him to headquarters. Expecting orders for his return, he arrives, only to have his entire world turned upside down. His seniors reveal that his medical reports show traces of drugs, which he had used to cope with his unbearable pain. For this, the military decides not just to discharge him, but to strip away everything: his career, his honor, his retirement benefits, even his medical coverage. In a single moment, the soldier who had dedicated his life to protecting others finds himself abandoned, betrayed, and left to face an uncertain future alone. Shocked, James tries to defend himself, insisting that he never used drugs, only prescribed medicines. But no one believes him. His pleas fall on deaf ears, and James is permanently dismissed from the force. Devastated, James returns home and breaks the news to his wife. Brienne is stunned. Without savings and with several bills piling up in the coming months, their situation looks grim. James, worried about his family's future, falls into deep stress. But Brienne calms him down, assuring him that somehow things will work out. That night, while James is working on the rooftop, Brienne comes to him with heartbreaking news. Mason, James's best friend and a former Special Forces soldier, has committed suicide. Like James, Mason had also been discharged from the military some months earlier. With his poor financial condition and no support, he saw no other way out. Brienne breaks down in tears, fearing James might end up the same way. But James quickly embraces her, promising that he will never abandon his family, no matter what. The next day, James attends Mason's funeral, where he meets Mike, a former superior officer and friend from the Special Forces. Mike, too, had been discharged just like James. Despite everything, the two still share a strong bond, and Mike warmly invites James and his family over for dinner. That evening, James, Brienne, and Max go to Mike's home. Over dinner, the two families talk about their lives. Later, when James and Mike are alone watching TV, Mike reveals that he now works for a private military company that pays him extremely well. Hearing this, James asks Mike for help. He wants to join too. With no job and urgent bills to pay, James sees this as his only chance. Understanding James's desperate situation, Mike agrees. The next day, Mike takes James to meet his boss, Rusty. Before offering him a position, Rusty warns James, "This job is nothing like the military. Most missions are dangerous, life-threatening, and there's a high chance you might not make it back alive." Rusty makes it clear to James, "We won't pay you a single cent unless you complete the missions we assign, but if you succeed, you'll be rewarded with a huge payout." With no money and no other options, James agrees. During their conversation, we also learn that Rusty himself was once a member of the Special Forces, just like James. However, he left the military and now runs his own private company. Rusty reassures James, saying, "All our missions are government-backed, so you don't have to worry. No matter what happens, you'll never get arrested." Soon after, James receives his very first mission. He must travel to Berlin for 2 weeks and conduct surveillance on a man. When he gets home, he breaks the news to Brienne. He tells her about the new job, the good money, but also that it requires him to be away in Berlin. Brienne doesn't like the idea at all and tries to stop him. But James convinces her, and the next day he leaves for Berlin. Once there, he checks into a hotel that Mike had already booked for him. A few hours later, a woman named Cardia arrives to meet him. She also works for Rusty and briefs James about his mission. His target is a biological scientist named Salim. According to their intel, Salim is secretly working with terrorists to develop a dangerous biological weapon, a weapon that could put countless innocent lives at risk. That evening, James gears up with his surveillance equipment and begins tracking Salim. He monitors his daily routines, when he enters the lab, when he leaves, and even observes Salim's family closely. After days of shadowing him, James gathers a lot of intel. Soon after, Cardia messages him, asking him to report back to base. At headquarters, James meets Mike, Cardia, and another new team member, Bobby. Mike then briefs the team. Salim is close to finalizing a highly lethal biological weapon, which he intends to sell to several powerful terrorist groups. Their mission is clear: Eliminate Salim before he can complete the deal and retrieve all the research data from his lab. However, this won't be easy. The lab's security system is directly connected to a nearby police station, meaning any breach could alert the Berlin police instantly. So, if things go south, their backup escape plan is to flee through a nearby forest tunnel. That night, armed with weapons and equipment, the team heads to the lab. Silently, they eliminate the guards one by one and infiltrate the facility. After searching through rooms, they finally corner Salim. The team threatens him, demanding access to his research data. Terrified, Salim points to his computer. Mike immediately orders Bobby to copy everything onto a hard drive while he tells James, "Take him out." Salim, trembling, pleads for his life. He insists, "Don't kill me. I'm just a scientist. My work is meant to save millions of lives, not destroy them." But James doesn't believe him. Desperate, Salim makes one final revelation. He tells James about a special drive stored in his bank's vault, which contains the full truth about his research. The catch: only his wife has the access code to open it. "If I die today, take that drive," Salim begs. "You'll learn everything. And please, make sure it never falls into the wrong hands." Despite his words, James remains unmoved. He injects Salim with a lethal poison, and the scientist collapses lifeless to the ground. After copying the data, they set the entire lab on fire so that no evidence would be left behind. But just as they were about to leave, several police vehicles arrived and surrounded them from all directions. The police opened fire, and in retaliation, Mike's team also began shooting. A chaotic gunfight broke out, during which the officers first killed Bobby and then Katia. While trying to escape, Mike was also shot in the leg. Seeing this, James quickly lifted him up and carried him away. Both of them hid inside a nearby tunnel. After some time, James removed the bullet from Mike's leg and treated him. Mike had lost a lot of blood, and his condition became very serious. But James quickly gave him his own blood. Slowly, Mike began to recover. By morning, Mike was completely fine again and immediately planned to return to the base. But suddenly, James's knee pain flared up, leaving him unable to stand. James told Mike to go ahead and deliver the research data to Rusty so their mission could be completed. He assured Mike not to worry about him, saying he would come later once he recovered. Left with no choice, Mike agreed, leaving James behind and heading out to deliver the research data to Rusty. Before leaving, Mike gave James the address of a hotel and said, "Once your knee is better, come to this hotel. After I hand the data to Rusty, I'll definitely come here to pick you up." Saying this, Mike left. A few hours later, when James's knee pain subsided, he went to the hotel Mike had mentioned. Inside the room, he found a passport and also a message from Mike saying that he would arrive within the next 7 hours. James waited for several hours, but when Mike didn't show up, he grew suspicious. Leaving the hotel, James called Rusty on the way and asked him about Mike. Rusty told him that Mike had not come to him. He explained that their mission had been leaked, which was why the police were after them. He suspected that Mike had been killed by the police. Rusty then asked James to share his location so he could send some men to pick him up. But James became suspicious, thinking Rusty himself might have killed Mike, so he refused to reveal his location. Rusty, now furious, ordered his men to kill James. Meanwhile, as James was walking down the street, Rusty's men suddenly opened fire on him. To save himself, James ran and jumped into the water. They followed him, but James cleverly overpowered them and beat them up. He interrogated one of them, asking who had sent them. The man confessed that Rusty had sent them, first to pick him up and then to kill him. After learning the truth, James realized that Rusty was indeed responsible for Mike's death. Using the man's phone, James sent Rusty a message to make him believe his men had killed James. After finishing them off, James left. Exhausted, he went to rest at an underground station. While resting, he began thinking about his next move. Suddenly, he remembered something Salim had once told him, that he had hidden all his research data inside a bank vault. The next day, James went directly to Salim's house and demanded that Salim's wife retrieve the data from the vault. She refused at first, but James threatened her, saying that if she didn't cooperate, he would kill her children. Left with no choice, she agreed. Together, they went to the bank, and Salim's wife retrieved the data from the vault and handed it over to James. After securing the data, James released her children. He quickly checked the files to see what Salim had actually been researching. To his shock, James discovered that Salim had been a good scientist. He was developing a medicine capable of curing any disease. Salim's true intention was to give this medicine for free to those who desperately needed it. But there were powerful corporations that didn't want Salim to distribute his medicine for free. Instead, they planned to steal his research, use his formula to manufacture the medicine themselves, and then sell it at exorbitant prices. After realizing the truth behind everything, James understood that Rusty was not a good man at all. He already knew about Salim and his noble research. James then returned to America. The first thing he did was go to Mike's house, intending to tell his wife that Mike was dead. But to his shock, James found Mike alive and well. This made James suspicious. Maybe Mike was working with Rusty all along and had plotted to get rid of him. To find out the truth, James secretly followed Mike the next day. But Mike soon realized someone was tailing him. He turned around, attacked, and pointed a gun at the stalker, only to discover it was James. Mike was stunned. Rusty had told him that James had died during their last mission. Mike explained, "I thought you were dead. That's why I never came back to the hotel to get you, and instead returned to America alone. I never meant to betray you." But James, furious, pointed his gun at Mike. "Why didn't you ever tell me that Rusty was a bad man? On his orders, I killed an innocent scientist." Salim wasn't evil. He was a good man trying to help people with his research. Mike calmed him down and warned, "Don't go back to your house. If Rusty finds out you're alive, he won't just come for you. He'll kill your family too." Confused and torn, James didn't know what to do. But after thinking for a while, he decided on one thing. Rusty had to die. That evening, Mike drove to Rusty's house to meet him. Hidden inside the car trunk was James. Once Mike parked and stepped out to meet Rusty's men, James quietly slipped out and began taking them down one by one. Meanwhile, Mike also started killing Rusty's guards. When Rusty realized intruders had stormed his place, he armed himself immediately. A fierce gunfight broke out between him and Mike. In the end, both were shot multiple times and collapsed to the ground. James rushed inside and without a word shot Rusty dead. But when he turned to Mike, he saw his condition was dire. Mike had been hit by several bullets. James desperately tried to save him, picked him up, and drove toward a hospital. But on the way, Mike succumbed to his injuries and died in James's arms. At dawn, James burned both Mike's body and the car, making sure no evidence was left behind. Then he finally returned home, reunited with his family, and for the first time in a long while, he was free of Rusty's shadow. With that, James closed one dark chapter of his life and began a new one. And this is where the movie ends. So friends, this was the gripping story of betrayal, survival, and revenge. What did you think about James's journey? Was he right in the choices he made? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more such thrilling movie explanations. Until next time, stay safe and stay tuned.